my mom and dad, my dad worked at the restaurant from the time he graduated from Michigan State University, and he was 25 years old, and he and my mom got married, and then they had me. They got married in 1960. I came in 61. And the family was still very much involved, but my dad was the man on the ground. And he was the one running the institution. And he had family members as partners, and he didn't want any more partners, so he said, either you buy me out or I buy you out. And they said, well, we're not going to buy you out, and you're not going to buy us out. We're not interested. And he said, well, I'm going to leave the business then. So you'll have to hire someone to manage the business, because I'm going to take my family and I'm going to move out of town. I don't want to be partners anymore. I don't want to be in business with anybody else. I want to do my own thing. So I was 13 at the time. So they packed us up, and we moved to Stevensville, Michigan, where my parents bought a small Italian restaurant called Tosi's. So I was German, and then I was Italian. And you know, it was a really good thing for my parents. It caused a lot of stress in my house with my dad, with having his family not giving him. He had to do the job, but he didn't have 100% of the ownership, and it's always hard when people do that to you. So they went off and they bought this little Italian restaurant, and my mom was the front of the house, and my dad was the back of the house, and I learned how to cook. That's really where I was exposed to, I made malfatti and cannelloni, and I stuffed escargots, and I cleaned zucchini blossoms and picked them from the garden, and I bussed tables, and I waited tables, and I waitress tables, and I did not bartend. That was not ever, we were not allowed in the bar. We were a very strict, no drinking family. My grandmother was an alcoholic on my mom's side, and my parents believed that, you know, if you're in the business and you're exposed to it all the time and you're drinking, it could cause a lot of trouble. So we had a dry house. We didn't drink alcohol. So eventually the other family members brought in a manager to run the Berghoff, and that manager ran the Berghoff for about 10 years. And then they came back to my dad saying, you know, you want to buy us out? Of course. And he said yes. And so they worked out a deal, and he bought out his partners in 1986. But the picture up there was in 1969. So that was before we left Chicago. In 1973, we left Chicago. Gloria Steinem found out that the Berghoff did not serve women in the bar, and an organization called Now, and walked in one day in 1969 and asked for a stein of beer, and was served. And my dad hid in the office all day until the transition of the men's bar was no longer. So it wasn't that he didn't want women in the bar, but he didn't know how to transition it. So he just hid while the women did the work, and then the women were allowed in the bar after that day. So girls, you can do anything you want, okay? Anything you want. You know, and then, so 100 years, and what the restaurant looked like at 100 years. In 1950, they hired a German, Swiss chef, and that's when Berghoff's cream spinach came on the menu. I know everybody loves our cream spinach. It's the #1 requested recipe. It is in the Berghoff family cookbook. It is original. It is going to taste just like it does at the restaurant. That's our potato peeler. It's the size of a coffin. And we run 1,000 pounds, you know, give or take a week through that potato peeler, and they are mashed potatoes. They are potato chips. You know, we use everything up. And that is Matt, our executive chef, who's been with our family for 15 years and knows his way around the Berghoff like no other. And then up in the right-hand corner, this was another very ingenuitive opportunity that my grandfather took, was so that the waiters didn't steal food, both literally and figuratively. He required you to pay for the food before it left the kitchen. So there was a stand set up. It's still there. Right now it's a point of sale stand. There was a stand set up, and there was a cashier standing there, and you bought your German money before your shift. and you paid the cashier because you had to carry the food on your arms, so the waiters would carry the food up their arms, and then you would get to go. And then you collected the money from the guest, and then at the end of the night, they cashed out. Until 1986, that system was in place. Until computers and inventory and technology took over, and then the coin system went away in order to make room for the new state-of-the-art, computers, which, you have a love-hate relationship for. So that's all of us in 1998, celebrating our 100th anniversary at the restaurant, which is amazing. So then there's me, who enters the scene. I have dyslexia, and I have ADHD, and I'm not a very good student. Also, you can succeed even if you're not a good student. It doesn't seem like you can now if you're in school, but and when I went off to college, it was a big struggle for me. So after a year, my dad's like, this isn't working out. We got to figure out what else you're going to do, because you're not an academic person. You can't handle the books, and he couldn't either. It was a genetic thing. It's passed from the male gene guys. Dyslexia is passed from my father, is dyslexic. And I applied to the Culinary Institute of America and was told there was a 2-year waiting list. So my parents said, well, you can come back and go to community college, wait tables, and just wait to get in, and we'll figure it out. So that's what I did, and it was the summer of after my freshman year in college, and I was waiting tables, and I went away from the table, and when I came back, there was a business card on the table, and it was the director of admissions for the Culinary Institute of America. Stevensville, Michigan, 90 miles from Chicago. Go figure. I mean, really, go figure. And he didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was, and he had conversations with me during the course of the evening saying, you should be in this occupation, you're a natural, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I tried to get into this school, the Culinary Institute, and they told me I had a 2-year waiting list, so I'm going to community college, and I'm going to work here until I can do that. And he said to me, well, when do you want to start school? And I said, September. That's when everybody starts school. He goes, no. The culinary, goes year long. It's every 3 weeks, 72 kids enter the program, 72 go on externship, 72 come back from externship, and 72 graduate. So it's a 2-year AOS program that doesn't stop. And I said, well, September, I want to go to school in September. So I went to the Culinary Institute in September, and that started my food career. And I never wanted to be a chef, but I figured if I knew everything I needed to know about food, that I could do anything in food. Because once you understand how food gets from point A to B and all the different things you can do to it, you can sell it, you can write about it, you can cook it, you can bake it, you can do anything. So my philosophy was get my education in food and then figure out the other part of it. So during my education, one of the classrooms was table service, and the classroom teacher said, I have an opportunity for you to cater a meal with me at the Firehouse in Poughkeepsie, New York. Okay, we're talking not a very sexy place, but I'm like, I'm going to try this. This sounds like it would be a lot of fun. So that was my first introduction in 1982 to catering, was at a Firehouse in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I liked it. It was fun. It was energizing. Everything was, the menu, it was simple, but you made it set up, you served people, and then you took it all away, and it was like you were never there. It was like, whoa. So that was really my first inspiration into catering. And after that, I decided, when I went to do my internship, that I wanted to do it with the opportunity to cater, so that I could really, get a handle on what it was like. So I took an internship in San Diego, because I wanted to try living someplace that I would never live. And it was only for 3 months. It was, and I moved to San Diego cold and got a job and worked in an inn doing their banquets and catering. And that was really where it became like, okay, I like this. So went back to school and graduated from the culinary and moved to Washington, D.C. because I wanted to live in the most exciting city that did events in the United States. And why not Washington, where the parties are lavish and fun, and that's where I really got my hands wet, cooking and serving. I was in the front of the house. I didn't want to cook. So the way that food continued to flow through my life was an evolution from my Berghoff days with my dad when I was little, following him around downtown, to my Tosi days where I was Italian, then to my culinary days where I was French and Russian and Italian, and because you're exposed to all those things at culinary school, to catering in a firehouse, to living in Washington, D.C. and forgetting the forks on a party and thinking that I could actually get away with them not noticing it when I emptied my purse out and put the forks in and then put my purse through the scanner. You know, I'm like, they're laughing. They're all laughing at me. And I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't think about that. That you would know that I didn't remember the forks because you can see the forks in my purse in the scanner. So, you know, you just kind of took it one experience at a time. And I've been really lucky that the Berghoff has given me those experiences. And now we have, you know, a cafe at O'Hare, and we have the cafe in the lower level. In the late 1998, my parents transitioned the lower level, which was the same as upstairs, into a cafe. And that cafe is the same concept that's at O'Hare, and it serves food quick and easy without service.